This explainer is based on the works of Professor Vihar Kiskinov, and it explores a pretty fundamental question. As our world gets more and more virtual, how does the very idea of law have to adapt just to survive?
This is really the central challenge of our time. Our legal systems, they were built for a physical world, a world of tangible objects and clear borders. But today, so much of our lives, our commerce, our identities, our social connections, they happen in this virtual environment. And that creates a huge problematic disconnect with the very laws that are supposed to govern us.
Now, Professor Kiskinov makes a really crucial distinction here. We often hear about regulating the internet. That's the external stuff, rules about content or who gets what domain name. But the deeper issue, and what we're really focusing on today, is that second aspect, how law itself needs to be built to exist and function inside the virtual world, defining our rights and our responsibilities from within.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to look at the real-world dilemmas that our legal system is facing online right now. Then we'll explore a blueprint for a new kind of virtual legal system, talk about the challenges in making it happen, and finally, we'll try to define this new reality we're all living in. Okay, let's dive right in with the digital dilemmas that law is up against today. And look, this isn't some theoretical debate. These are real problems affecting businesses, people, and even governments every single day.
So let's take a traditional retail company. They decide, hey, let's expand into e-commerce. Seems like a simple enough move, right? But what they find out really fast is that adding a Buy Now button throws them into a completely new legal universe that they are not ready for.
Suddenly, the company isn't just a retailer anymore. Legally, they're now an electronic merchant. They have to follow a whole new set of rules for digital contracts, and their entire IT setup is now subject to specialized legal audits. What seemed like a straightforward business decision opens up this huge, unfamiliar legal landscape.
Or how about a more personal story? Consider student A. He used a social media profile for a few years, then deleted it for his own reasons. He just assumed naturally that his data was gone. But then, years later, he creates a new profile on that same network.
And to his shock, everything reappeared. All his old posts, his photos, his connections, all of it. And it caused him some real personal distress. This whole case brings up these massive questions. When you click delete, is your data really gone? And who actually owns and controls our digital identities?
And this challenge isn't just for us or for companies. It extends all the way to our governments. Imagine a government agency, let's call them State Body X, trying to modernize. They want to create electronic registers and let people submit official documents online. It's a totally logical step, but they hit a wall. And that wall isn't built out of technology, it's built out of law.
They run into basic problems. How can an electronic register be made legally binding? Can a digital submission really carry the same weight as a paper one? What they discover is that the existing laws are completely useless for this. The legal framework just wasn't designed for digital government, and it forces them to try and write totally new rules from scratch.
So, these examples paint a pretty clear picture of a legal system that's under a lot of strain. So, what's the solution? This is where we get into Professor Kiskinov's proposed legal model. It's a comprehensive blueprint for how we can re-engineer law so it actually works in a virtual world.
Now, this model isn't just one new law. You should think of it as an entire architectural plan. It's the framework we need to build a just and orderly society online, making sure that our rights and obligations are just as real and just as enforceable in the virtual space as they are in the physical one.
The model itself has two essential parts. You've got the prescriptive part, which is the how, all the practical machinery and rules, and then you have the conceptual part, which is the why, the underlying philosophy and theory that guides the whole thing. You absolutely need both for it to work.
Okay, let's look at the prescriptive part first. This is all about creating the actual tools and systems that law needs to operate online. These are the foundational building blocks for a whole new virtual legal infrastructure.
So what are we talking about here? Things like secure digital identities, so we actually know who we're interacting with. We're talking electronic registers for legal records, secure ways to exchange binding declarations, and absolutely crucial tools like authentication and timestamping to make sure digital actions are valid and provable.
But the tools are only half the battle. That conceptual part is just as vital. See, you can't build a new reality with old ideas. This part is about creating a new legal science, a fundamental shift in how we think. It means we have to develop new theories that can actually make sense of things like virtual property or digital personhood. Ideas that our current physical world legal theories just aren't built to handle.
Now, proposing a model like this is one thing.
Actually implementing it, that's another thing entirely. We have to be realistic about the pretty significant obstacles that stand in the way of building this new virtual legal system.
And the problem is systemic. It's not just one area that's lagging behind. Rulemaking, legal practice, academic legal science, even the way we educate our future lawyers. All of these areas are really struggling to keep up with the speed of technology.
This table really clarifies the friction points. So you have lawmakers trying to apply old historical analogies to digital problems where they just don't fit. You have courts giving out contradictory rulings on things like e-documents because there's no real precedent. And legal theory itself is still stuck in a physical world without the basic concepts needed to explain how law can even work in a virtual one.
This quote from Professor Kiskinov just captures the challenge perfectly. He says that the legal sciences are simply unprepared. The conceptual tools, the intellectual framework, it's all lagging way behind the reality of our digital lives. That's the deep institutional inertia we have to overcome.
So where does all this leave us? Well, it leads us to the need for a new, big-picture concept to describe this new frontier for law and for justice, a term for the world we're actually in now.
And that concept is virtual legal reality. This term describes the entire ecosystem, the phenomena, the rules, the mechanisms through which law now exists and operates in the digital space. This isn't some far-off future. This is the reality we're actively building right now.
So what are the key insights to take away from all this? First, law is going through this historic shift from a physical to a virtual existence. Second, a new legal model is absolutely essential to guide this transition. Third, this is going to require a fundamental reinvention of how we create, practice, and teach law. And finally, the most important takeaway is that this isn't really about technology, it's about the very nature and the future of justice itself.
And this leaves us with a final, vital question. As our lives continue to move from the physical to the virtual, we are all becoming the architects of this new reality. So the crucial question we have to ask ourselves is this: what does the future of justice actually look like inside of it?